I actually became tearful the moment we arrived. Even if you agree with some of this stuff in California, it doesn't matter because it's so loud, it's exhausting to the soul. Another thing that I was really worried about, are the kids gonna be okay?
What are the things that made it hard for you to even consider uprooting everything?
Definitely family and friends. So every time we would come back, we'd be like, okay, well now we're gonna find out something's wrong. You don't realize the weight that you're carrying until you go somewhere where it's different and it's freeing.
Today we're talking with a family who risked it all, decided to leave California after living there for 38 years. The husband's a police officer, the wife's a nurse. They left their family, their closest friends, their jobs, their work, their school, and they took a risk. And we're gonna see if it paid off. If this is your first time to the channel, my name's Craig. I'm a local real estate agent here who helps families just like this relocate to Idaho. In today's video, we're talking with a family who moved here from California, and after living there for 38 years, they just couldn't do it anymore. So they packed everything up, them and their 2 kids, and decided to make the leap and move up to Emmett, Idaho. They've now lived here for 1.5 years, and you're gonna find out if it was worth it. They'll talk about why they moved from California to Idaho. They'll share the effect it had on their family, their health, and just their emotional state. And as you listen, you'll know that they would be the first to say that it wasn't easy, but that it was totally worth it, and they wouldn't do it any other way. So paint a picture for me. You guys are living in Cali, and you guys up and leave everything. Family, friends, the state that you've been in for 30 plus years, and you moved to Idaho. Why?
We felt like California was really loud politically. We just wanted to find some respite. I think maybe we heard that the lockdowns weren't as active in Idaho, so we just drove out one day.
What was it like for you?
I actually became tearful the moment we arrived. You don't realize like the weight that you're carrying until you go somewhere where it's different. The contrast, California, and then coming here, and there would be signs on people's yards that say, "We stand with you, blue." Where in Petaluma, where we're from, Petaluma teachers, defund the police. So it was devastating for us as a law enforcement family. And then coming here and seeing such a contrast, it was such a weight lifted off of us. So much so that I was like just crying in the car that day. And then other things about the environment in general that you don't realize are heavy. You might notice it and you see it, but I think you don't realize the toll that it's taking on you until you're away from it and you realize, wow, there's another way, which would be cleanliness. There's not a lot of trash everywhere. There's not a lot of homeless people everywhere. I don't think I've seen graffiti, maybe a couple of times, but there's very little of that just like background noise. You don't realize the toll that has on you until you're away from it, and it's freeing and it's beautiful. I love it.
And so you guys at this point are making trips up here. What were your goals on those trips?
I think we came out like 4 times or so, and every time we would stay in a different place. We tried Twin Falls a couple of times and we liked that area. I personally ended up going away from that because I love the mountains here in the Treasure Valley. It reminds me of California in the hills, and it gives some depth.
And out in the Magic Valley, like Twin Falls area, there's not a big airport.
It makes it harder for us to go back to California to visit all of our friends and family and for them to come here. Those were like the big deciding factors. I kept thinking, okay, the honeymoon feeling is going to wear off. So every time we would come back, we'd be like, okay, well now we're going to find out something's wrong. Every time you're expecting, okay, when's the shoe going to drop? After a couple of trips, maybe we could get an investment property here because things are a little bit less expensive. And so we were toying with that idea, but I always still go back to California because we really were like, oh, we're not going to move, because you really can't conceptualize that.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to conceptualize that.
What are the things that made it hard for you to even consider uprooting everything?
Definitely family and friends and my career. We loved our kids' school. We loved our church. I loved my job.
And for us, none of our family was like, oh yeah, we should consider this. It was like, we're not leaving.
So they're diehard California.
Mm-hmm.
As much as they see what we see, they're not going to leave it.
What made it worth it to jump that hurdle and say, yes, this is hard, but it's worth it for you to make that move up here?
Medical freedom, allowing for that. I don't know if you want to edit this part out, but that's the truth. And then our kids going back to school wearing masks, and we didn't love that. Governor Newsom was like, all of the children shall be vaccinated to go to school as soon as it's FDA approved. And like, that's fine if that's what you want, but that isn't necessarily what we wanted.
Yeah.
And it felt like we weren't going to be given that choice. Here it feels safe, clean. There's not a lot of homeless. There's not a lot of graffiti. There's not a lot of trash. It's politically, it feels quieter. Even if you agree with some of this stuff in California, it doesn't matter because it's so loud. It's like exhausting to the soul after a while. And here is just quiet. Like the quote from Finding Nemo, fish can breathe out here.
Oh, yeah. A fish can breathe out here.
And so we always feel that way, like, calm.
If you're living in a place right now that is not right for you and your family, and you're looking to make a change, here's my phone number, here's my email. Feel free to pause the video. Me and my team here at Living in Idaho help families just like you every day make that transition. What would you say to a family who's on the fence? California's not right for them. They're afraid of big change.
I don't regret moving. We've been here 1.5 years now. Like the emotional piece, of course, I miss our friends and family, absolutely. But what I see my kids getting and what I see our family is just lighter.
Yeah, if you can give up the ocean, if you're coming from California, you will have a better overall quality of life here.
Absolutely. Yes, geographically it's different here, but there's beautiful mountains and rivers and lakes and there's tons of outdoor stuff. To me, it was more about the emotional piece, maybe because I'm a woman, but
there's a lot more peace here.
there is a lot more mental peace. But like you can't tell someone like, oh, this is worth more than that. Like people have to come to that decision on their own. My blood pressure went down, my pulse went down. I'm a nurse, so I noticed those things. I sleep better. I just feel peace in my soul. And there's no other really way to describe it. And I guess we just went so long without having that in California. It's of high value now.
And we hear that from all of our friends.
There's a lot of firefighters and construction workers who commute back to California because you can make it work with Southwest, getting points and the frequent flyers and like stacking their shifts so that they can have 5 days there and then 10 days here.
They cannot wait to come back.
Yeah.
On their days off to Idaho.
Some of the things that are like hard that you don't realize might be kind of hard is finding new grocery stores that you like, finding a new church that you like, finding your kids a school that you like. Another thing that I was really worried about, are the kids going to be okay? We're taking them away from all their friends. We're taking them away from their family, and like the guilt that I was feeling and the worry that I was feeling, are they going to be okay? And they are totally fine. They've made friends quickly. We keep in contact with our friends and family in California. They write letters, they FaceTime.
We should tell them though, like we go back
3 or 4 times a year we go back, yeah. And we have family to stay with, which makes it easier financially. And that is not the case for a lot of people, but for us it is, thankfully.
If you had to compare California and Idaho, what are some things that are just better here?
Well, the income taxes are substantially lower.
But the income is lower, so that might be a con. It's harder to make the same money here.
For people that are retired in California, moving to Idaho, we'll talk to your financial advisor, but you will get a pay increase through paying less taxes, probably.
The air quality is better here.
Depending on where you're at in California, significantly less impact from smoke due to fires. There's quite a bit more water throughout the state of Idaho, especially in the Treasure Valley, than what we're used to in Northern California.
We're allowed to water our lawns. In California, there would be yard signs that say brown is the new green. And I'm like, no, I love green. And the sky is like bright blue. The clouds are puffy white. I mean, there is haze every now and then, but it's much more rare. The air quality I love. And the seasons. So if you like seasons, you're experiencing seasons.
Oh yeah, how's the winter been for you guys?
Last year, we had a long heat spell in July. Remember, it was like 6 weeks over 100.
Yeah.
But there's no brownouts, I've noticed, with electricity like we experienced in Northern California.
Yeah, we were asking everybody, like, what's up with the power? Is there going to be power outages? And they're like, what?
Do we need a generator? They're like,
you don't know about power outages? Like, no,
It goes out if a drunk driver hits a telephone pole. That's about it.
those are the only reasons that we lose power. So they were like, they didn't get what we were saying.
So it got hot for a while, which sends us out to public swimming pools, splash pads at the parks, rivers, lakes. And then in the winter, we had, this was like a record-setting winter for temperature, where it went the longest without getting over 60 degrees. We're not skiers or snowboarders.
No, but there's a lot of that here.
There is. And we still had fun. The neighbors were pulling the kids on like those snow discs on four-wheelers and stuff.
Building snowmen and stuff. It's fun. It's not so much snow that you're like, oh my gosh, we got to dig ourselves out of the house. It's just enough snow to be fun, and then it melts and goes away.
But if you're from Sonoma County or like Southern California, like there's a lot more snow than we're used to. You're not getting snowed in like you might be in northern Idaho.
You can tell the difference between spring, summer, fall.
Plenty of places to hike, hunt, fish, shoot. If you're into shooting, there's plenty of ranges and federal land or BLM land where you can just go do whatever you want.
Hopefully their story was encouraging to you as you're deciding what the next step is. And if you'd like to talk to somebody about that process, here's my phone number, here's my email. You can reach out days, nights, or weekends. We get calls, texts, and emails every day from people just like you looking to make that transition from where they are to where they want to be. We'll see you in the next video.